Folks, that 1974 Pontiac GTO sitting in your neighbor's garage, he thinks it's worth 40 grand. Reality check, it's barely worth 12. Today, we're counting down 15 muscle cars that'll drain your wallet faster than they'll drain their gas tanks. From legendary nameplates that lost their way to factory mistakes that should have stayed on the drawing board, these are the muscle cars you need to run from, not toward. Number 15, 1974 Pontiac GTO. Let's start with one that breaks a lot of hearts. The 1974 GTO isn't a muscle car, it's a Ventura with a body kit. After 1973, Pontiac slapped the GTO badge on their compact Nova clone and called it a day. Under that hood sits a wheezing 350 cubic inch V8, making just 200 horsepower. Your modern V6 Camry could probably take it in a straight line. The real kicker? These things rust like they're allergic to oxygen. The front subframes rot out, the quarter panels dissolve, and don't even get me started on the floor pans. Parts are expensive because nobody makes reproductions, and values have been falling for a decade. Guys who bought these for 25 grand in 2015 are lucky to get 15 today. Number 14, 1980 Chevrolet Corvette. Here's a car that represents everything wrong with late 70s and early 80s Detroit. The 1980 Corvette came with a California spec 305 V8, making a pathetic 180 horsepower. That's right, less horsepower than the inline-six Corvettes from 1953. The automatic transmission couldn't handle even that modest power, slipping and failing at an alarming rate. These cars are plagued with electrical gremlins, the digital dash fails constantly, and the chassis flexes like a wet noodle. Collectors avoid these like the plague, focusing on the 1978 pace car or jumping straight to the 1984 C4. Values are stuck in the basement, and restoration costs more than the car will ever be worth. If someone offers you one cheap, now you know why. Number 13, 1977 Oldsmobile Cutlass 442. This one hurts because the name deserves so much better. The 1977 442 was Oldsmobile's sad attempt to keep the muscle car dream alive during the Malaise era. They took a regular Cutlass, added some stripes and a handling package, then dropped in a 350 Olds V8, making 170 horsepower. My riding lawnmower has more torque. The Quadrajet carburetor is a nightmare that requires constant adjustment. The THM 350 transmission is the weak link that grenades if you look at it wrong. And the rear-end gears are so tall, you need binoculars to see the next gear. Parts availability isn't terrible, but nobody's making the specific 442 trim pieces anymore. Values peaked around 2012 and have been sliding ever since. Save your money for a real 442 from the 60s. Number 12, 1971 Ford Mustang Mach 1 351 C2V. Now here's where you've got to be careful. The 1971 Mustang Mach 1 came with two different 351 Cleveland engines, and one of them is a dog. The 351C with two-barrel carburetor made just 240 horsepower and feels even slower because these boats weigh 3,500 pounds. The four-barrel version is the one you want, but dealers are happy to let you confuse the two. These cars have serious rust issues in the shock towers and torque boxes. The interior trim cracks if you breathe on it, and replacement parts cost more than comparable Camaros or Firebirds. The big body style isn't as desirable as the earlier fastbacks, and values reflect that. Unless it's got the 429 Cobra Jet or the four-barrel 351, walk away. You'll thank me later when you're not underwater on a restoration that'll never break even. Number 11, 1975 Chevrolet Camaro. The 1975 Camaro represents the absolute bottom of the muscle car era. Base models came with a 250 cubic inch inline-six, making 105 horsepower. Even the top-tier 350 V8 only managed 155 horsepower thanks to strangling emissions equipment. These cars are heavy, slow, and unreliable. The catalytic converters clog constantly, the computer-controlled carburetors are temperamental nightmares, and the bumpers weigh about 80 pounds each. The second-gen Camaro is beautiful, but these mid-70s versions are the ugly stepchildren nobody wants. Rust attacks the rear window channel, the floor pans, and the subframe connectors with equal aggression. Values have actually dropped in recent years as collectors focus on the 1970 to 1973 models or jump to the later Z28s. Parts are readily available, but why spend money fixing up the worst year of a great design? Number 10. 1976 Pontiac Trans Am 455 4-speed. Wait, you're thinking, the Trans Am is supposed to be valuable? Here's the dirty secret. The 1976 was the last year for the 455, and it's also the worst year to own one. That big block makes just 200 horsepower, less than half what it made in 1971. The engine is choked with emissions equipment, runs hot, and drinks premium gas like it's going out of style while delivering the performance of a modern minivan. These cars command big money because of the smoky and the bandit nostalgia, but they're terrible investments. Maintenance costs are astronomical, parts are disappearing, and the values have flatlined. Guys are asking 35 to 40 grand for decent examples, but they're sitting unsold for months. The market has figured out that paying muscle car money for Malaise-era performance doesn't make sense. Unless you need that specific bird on the hood for sentimental reasons, there are better ways to spend your money. Number 9. 1973 Mercury Cougar XR7. The early Cougars were Lincoln's answer to the Mustang, sleek and sporty. By 1973, they'd bloated into personal luxury barges that handled like aircraft carriers. These things weigh over 4,000 pounds and came standard with a 351 Windsor making 168 horsepower. Do the math, that's terrible. The XR7 package added fancy interior bits, but no performance, and these cars developed a reputation for electrical problems that would make a British car blush. The dashboards crack, the vinyl tops rot and leak, and the hidden headlight mechanisms fail and cost a fortune to fix. Parts are nearly impossible to find because nobody's reproducing them, and values are in the toilet. Clean examples struggle to break 10 grand, and that's if you can find a buyer. These cars represent everything that went wrong with American cars in the 70s, all wrapped up in one overweight, underpowered package. Before we continue, if you're learning something here, do me a favor and smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me which of these you've seen rotting in someone's driveway, and hit subscribe so you don't miss our next video. Trust me, you'll want to know which cars are actually worth your hard-earned money. Now let's keep going. Number 8. 1982 Chevrolet Camaro Iron Duke. Here's a muscle car that came from the factory with 4 cylinders and no muscle. The Iron Duke 4-cylinder made 90 horsepower in a car that weighed 3,200 pounds. Let that sink in. Chevrolet actually had the nerve to put a 4-banger in a Camaro and expect people to buy it. And some did, because gas was expensive and times were tough. But that doesn't mean you should own one today. These cars are embarrassingly slow. Parts are actually harder to find than you'd think because nobody saved them, and the collector market treats them like pariahs. Even third-gen Camaro fans who will defend almost anything from this era tell you to avoid the 4-cylinder cars. The only way these things are valuable is if you find one with single-digit miles that's never been titled, and even then, it's more of a curiosity than an investment. Save your garage space for something that'll actually make you smile when you turn the key. Number 7. 1978 Dodge Challenger. Wait, another Challenger? Not quite. See, Dodge slapped the Challenger name on a rebadged Mitsubishi Galant Lambda from 1978 to 1983, and these things are about as American as sushi. They came with a 2.6-liter 4-cylinder, making 105 horsepower, handled like a shopping cart with a loose wheel, and rusted faster than the Titanic. The Hemi badge some of them wore was pure marketing nonsense, referring to the hemispherical combustion chambers in the Mitsubishi engine. These cars have no connection to the legendary E-body Challengers from 1970 to 74, and the market knows it. They're worth maybe $3,000 in perfect condition. Parts are impossible to find because nobody in America worked on them, and even Mopar guys won't touch them. If someone tries to sell you one claiming it's a rare Challenger, they're either ignorant or dishonest. Either way, run. The only people who want these are Mitsubishi collectors, and there aren't many of those. Number 6, 1974, AMC Matador X. AMC tried to compete in the muscle car market with the Matador X, and the result was one of the ugliest, slowest, most forgettable cars of the decade. Under that massive hood sits a 360 cubic inch V8, making 195 horsepower, trying to motivate nearly 3,900 pounds of bloated styling. These cars drive like trucks. The build quality makes Chrysler look like Mercedes, and they rust in places you didn't know cars had. The interiors fall apart if you look at them wrong. The exterior trim is made from the cheapest pot metal imaginable, and parts availability is a cruel joke. Good luck finding trim pieces or interior bits without paying absurd money to the handful of AMC specialists still in business. Values are non-existent because nobody wants them. Clean examples might bring $8,000 if you find the world's biggest AMC fan, but most are worth scrap value. The only reason to buy one is if you need a movie prop for a 70s period piece, and even then, you'd probably rather find something better. Number 5, 1971, Plymouth Cricket. Plymouth's attempt to sell a rebadged Hillman Avenger as an economy car was a disaster that still haunts used car lots today. Okay, it's not technically a muscle car, but dealers love to throw these in with classic Plymouth collections to unsuspecting buyers. These British imports were so unreliable that Plymouth dealers refused to service them, leading to a class action lawsuit. The 1.5-liter four-cylinder made 70 horsepower and broke down constantly. Electrical problems, rust issues, and mechanical failures were so common that most were junked before they hit 50,000 miles. Finding parts is nearly impossible because the cars were only sold for 2 years before Plymouth gave up and walked away. The handful that survive are worth maybe $2,000 to quirky car collectors who enjoy pain. If you see one for sale, the seller is either desperate or delusional. These cars represent one of the worst automotive decisions Plymouth ever made, and that's saying something given the company eventually went out of business. Number 4, 1980, Chevrolet Citation X11. Chevrolet tried to make a front-wheel drive muscle car with the X11 package, and the result was predictably terrible. The 2.8-liter V6 made 135 horsepower and routed it through the front wheels, which torque steered like a boat with a broken rudder. These cars were plagued with brake problems so bad that GM faced lawsuits. The transmissions failed constantly, and the build quality was atrocious even by early 80s standards. The interior plastics cracked and faded instantly, the paint peeled off in sheets, and rust attacked every body panel simultaneously. Collectors avoid these like they're radioactive because they represent everything wrong with American cars in the Malaise era. Values are stuck at $3,000 for perfect examples, which is roughly $2,950 more than they're worth. Parts are available because GM made millions of Citations, but that doesn't mean you want to be the guy keeping one running. These cars were bad when new, and 40 years haven't improved them. Number 3, 1977 Chevrolet Vega. The Vega nearly destroyed Chevrolet's reputation, and the muscle car versions are the worst of a bad lot. The Cosworth Vega came with a fancy twin-cam engine making 110 horsepower, which sounds impressive until you realize that's less than the original inline-six Camaros from the 60s. These cars rusted so badly that Consumer Reports called them the worst car ever made. The aluminum block engines self-destructed, the rear axles broke, and the build quality was so poor that some left the factory missing parts. Restoration is pointless because reproduction parts don't exist and the cars weren't worth saving when new. Clean examples might fool someone into paying 10 grand, but that's 10 grand you'll never see again. The Cosworth version is slightly more valuable to collectors, but slightly more valuable than worthless is still basically worthless. If you want a 70s economy car with sporting pretensions, buy a Datsun 510. At least those were actually good cars. Number 2, 1982, Dodge Rampage. Dodge tried to make a muscle truck by taking a front-wheel drive K car and giving it a pickup bed. The result was the Rampage, and it's every bit as bad as it sounds. The 2.2-liter four-cylinder made 84 horsepower, which wouldn't be enough to pull a grease string out of a cat's behind. These things couldn't haul, couldn't tow, and couldn't get out of their own way. The front-wheel drive layout meant spinning tires in the rain with no weight over the drive wheels. The build quality was typical Chrysler 80s garbage, and they rusted faster than a nail in salt water. Parts availability is terrible because Dodge only made these for 2 years before realizing their mistake. Values are underwater because nobody wants a front-wheel drive truck that can't truck and a muscle car that can't muscle. Clean examples might bring $5,000 from someone who needs a conversation piece, but that's about it. These cars prove that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Number 1, 1974, Ford Mustang second generation. Here it is, folks, the absolute worst muscle car you can waste your money on. The Mustang second generation isn't just bad, it's an insult to the Mustang name. Ford took their legendary pony car and turned it into a Pinto with a body kit. The base four-cylinder made 88 horsepower, and even the optional V6 only managed 105. The V8 didn't arrive until 1975, and it was a 302 choked down to 140 horsepower. These cars are cramped, slow, ugly, and cheaply built. The interiors fall apart if you look at them wrong. Rust attacks every panel, and the suspensions wear out faster than tennis shoes. But here's the real kicker. People still ask big money for nice ones because they've convinced themselves these are classic Mustangs. They're not. They're Malaise-era mistakes that happen to wear a Mustang badge. Parts are available because Ford made millions, but restoration costs more than the car will ever be worth. Clean examples bring 15 to 20 grand from people who don't know better, but they should be $5,000 cars maximum. If someone offers you a Mustang second generation, ask yourself why they're trying to get rid of it, then walk away. Better yet, run. Well, folks, there you have it. 15 muscle cars that'll hurt your wallet and break your heart. From badge-engineered imports to Malaise-era mistakes, these are the cars that give classic American iron a bad name. Remember, just because something's old doesn't mean it's valuable, and just because it's got a famous name doesn't mean it's worth saving. Do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, a classic car should make you smile, not file for bankruptcy. We'll see you next time.